Scope. 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 I'd be happy to explain the word scope to you. So, in English, scope can be both a noun and a verb, but it's mostly used as a noun. As a noun, scope refers to the extent of something, such as its reach or influence. For example, the company has a wide scope in the market means that the company operates in many areas or has a big impact. It can also refer to the range of subjects or topics being considered or covered. Like the study had a narrow scope and only looked at a few factors. As a verb, to scope out is more informal and means to investigate or survey something before taking action. For instance, they scoped out the competition before launching their new product. One special note about its usage is that scope can sometimes be used in a more abstract sense, referring to the possibilities or potential of something. Like the scope for innovation in this field is huge. In a formal setting, such as a job interview or a presentation, you might say, the scope of my research project involves analyzing data from 10 countries to understand global trends in economic growth. This usage emphasizes the extent and breadth of the project. In contrast, in casual conversation with friends, you might say, I think the scope of that new restaurant's menu is really impressive. They have something for everyone. Here, the word scope refers to the variety or range of options available. For business or academic purposes, you could use a sentence like, the scope of our company's social responsibility initiatives has expanded significantly over the past year. In this case, the word scope highlights the extent and impact of the company's efforts. So you're trying to understand what scope means. Think of it like this. When we talk about something being within a certain range or area, that's basically what scope is all about. It refers to the extent, amount, or limit of something, like how far something can reach or apply. For example, if you're talking about a job opportunity, the scope might refer to the specific tasks or responsibilities that come with it. Now, when people talk about similar concepts, they might use words like limits, bounds, or realm. These all mean pretty much the same thing as scope. In terms of how it's used, scope is often talked about in situations where you need to know what's possible or allowed within a particular situation, so it helps people understand what can and can't be done. Subsidy. 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 Let's talk about the word subsidy. So, in English grammar, subsidy is a noun, which means it refers to a specific thing, like an amount of money or a benefit. In everyday language, people often use the term subsidy when talking about financial help given by the government, a company, or an organization to support someone or something, usually in order to make a product or service more affordable for them. For example, you might hear that the government provides a subsidy to farmers to help them buy seeds and fertilizers at a lower price. One important thing to keep in mind is that subsidies can be given for various reasons, such as to promote economic growth, protect the environment, or support small businesses. The City Council recently introduced a new policy that will provide a subsidy to local businesses that invest in renewable energy sources, which has been warmly welcomed by the community, and local leaders are now discussing how to best utilize this initiative. For instance, Sarah's cousin owns a small bakery on Main Street, and she'll be getting a decent chunk of money from the city as a direct subsidy for switching to solar-powered ovens, which will not only save her some cash but also make her business more attractive to eco-conscious customers. Meanwhile, researchers at the University of Environment Studies have published a report analyzing the impact of government subsidies on the adoption of green technologies by small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, highlighting how targeted subsidies can be an effective policy tool for driving sustainable economic growth and development. So you want to know about this financial support that governments and organizations give to certain groups or projects? Well, let me explain. It's basically an extra funding or money given to help people or businesses who might struggle with expenses related to specific things like running a farm, building houses, or doing environmental work. It's not free money, but rather a way to make these costs more affordable for those who need help. People often use terms like financial aid, grants, or government assistance to describe it, and it's usually meant to benefit specific groups or industries that might be struggling or have special needs. Tape. 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 Let's talk about the word tape. So, the part of speech for tape is a noun, which means it refers to a specific thing or concept. In common usage, we use tape to refer to a long, narrow strip of adhesive material used for holding things together, like wrapping gifts or fixing broken objects. We also use tape in phrases like recording tape, referring to the physical medium on which audio or video recordings were stored in the past, and gaffer's tape, which is a type of strong, cloth-backed tape used by film and theater technicians. One special note about using tape is that it can also be used as a verb, meaning to attach something with tape, but this usage is less common than the noun form. In a formal setting such as a court of law, the phrase on tape could be used to convey that evidence is being presented in a recorded format. As in, the prosecution will present the security footage on tape to prove the defendant's guilt. This usage requires a context where credibility and reliability of the evidence are crucial. In casual conversation with friends or family members, you might say something like, "I tried to fix the ripped page in my book using Scotch tape, but it still came loose," when discussing everyday issues or chores. Here, the tone is relaxed and informal, allowing for a straightforward mention of a common household item. For business or academic purposes, consider phrases such as "the marketing team will conduct a focus group on videotape to gather feedback from potential customers to emphasize a professional approach towards research and analysis." So you want to learn about this common object that we all use? It's a long, thin, flexible material that's made of sticky strips that can be stuck to surfaces, often used for holding things together, marking something, or keeping something in place. You might think of it as like a strong adhesive strip that sticks to itself and can hold a lot of weight. It's very useful for DIY projects, crafts, or even just sticking notes or reminders on your wall. Some people also call it adhesive strips or stick-ons. But you'll probably hear more casual references to it in everyday life. Does that make sense?